Philip and Joe, welcome to A Breath of Fresh Air. How are you two going?
Well,
Oh,
good,
good,
good.
good, good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
looking forward. Thanks for reaching out to us.
Well, I have to say that it wasn't my idea. I had a lovely listener write into me and say, whatever happened to Supernaut? Because that's part of what I do here on A Breath of Fresh Air is chase down anybody that listeners want to hear from. So our listener D, well, there's lots more than him, but D reached out and said, I challenge you, find Supernaut. So D, here's Supernaut for you. Supernaut, what have you been up to?
Ooh.
Well, quite a lot over the last few years. Probably, when the Molly movie came out
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, when
TV series.
the TV series came out,
Right.
we were contacted. Well, up to then, we'd been releasing our music. It'd been done on a small label, re-released us on a small label, and we had we'd done one of those countdown reunion tours in 2007. So that was the first time we actually got back together again after we just sort of fell apart basically. And then but after they contacted us for the Molly TV series, the idea was that maybe Mushroom or Liberation would just re-release the whole catalog, and then that's sort of started things up for us again. So we got it like relicensed and re-released and remastered, and now they got our whole catalog up on Spotify and Apple and everything. And yeah,
Oh,
so
you're
that was
making money out of it again.
Ooh,
ooh,
that's pushing it.
it's good that it's up there. It's good that it's all out. It's good that it's
Yeah,
all out. A lot of people really have gone to it and they're downloading it and listening, and
right. That's awesome.
so yeah,
Well,
we get better.
for anybody who doesn't know, Supernaut were an Australian glam pop band from Perth originally. You were formed as a pub rock group that originally had the name Moby Dick, and of course, Gary and Joe came from the UK,
Yeah.
and you ended up changing the name. Tell us how that progressed.
Okay. Well, Gary and I were both at the same high school when we first came to Australia, and we became friends first, and found we had a mutual interest in music, like the same sort of music,
Uh huh.
like Bowie, T-Rex, all those sort of bands that are around then. And I was in a band with Moby Dick with my brother. Gary wasn't in that. It was my brother, myself, and two other English guys, and Chris, my brother's English, obviously. And we played and played around Perth. We actually had like a pretty decent following, but like Chris and I heard Gary sing one night. I can't remember where, and just said, "We want that guy." So we very subtly broke up Moby Dick, not saying why. And then, a couple of months later, we reappeared as Supernaut with a different singer.
Right. And
So
where'd you get the name from?
actually, I take credit for that. It's off a Black Sabbath album. I think it's Black Sabbath 4. There's a song called Supernaut on there.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. Well, you were huge around Australia, and your debut single was indeed "I Like It Both Ways," which we'll have a listen to right now. Tell me a little bit about "I Like It Both Ways." That was May 1976. It came out. It roared up the charts. What can you tell me?
Yeah, that was. It started out as a bit of a joke in the bedroom. I mean, you know, we were still at school going on. My brother had left and he was working. And the lyrics came first. Well, no, that's a bit of a lie. Our bass player at the time was gay. And we used to sing just jokingly, Billy is a boy, can't make up his mind, if you like, because he liked girls as well. So it's just a joke between us, you know. And he was a lovely guy too, Bill. He's a fabulous bloke. And it just slowly evolved. And then we thought, oh, let's make a song out of it. And then we thought, I don't know, Johnny just sort of sounded better than Bill.
I
Yeah.
wonder. I wonder if you could still do that today, or that'd be held as being politically incorrect.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's the idea of the song.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know because you know, I mean, it worked well for us because you
I
know,
think it really suits the times now. Everyone's gender fluid. I think the song really sits well period that we're going through right now. Did he see me? What am I? Kind of thing.
Maybe we could just do it a bit more subtly now than what we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be more afraid of offending somebody now than you certainly would have been in those days, wouldn't you?
It kind of worked for us in the end because, you know, because of what it was about. I mean, it was getting banned everywhere. And I mean, everyone knows if your song gets banned, it's great for
everyone
sales.
wants it.
Yeah, so that did help.
Yeah.
Philip, how did you come to join the boys?
Well, what happened was I'm in Sydney, you know, and I saw them on their first show on Countdown. Their first, and then I thought, oh God, I'd really love to be in a band exactly like that. That's the sort of band I really wanted to be in. And I was in my last year at high school, and then the next day I went down the road to the store, and they had a copy of Ram magazine, Duke Ram magazine. And it said that they fired their bass player and they're looking for a bass player. So I just sort of worked out a way of telling my parents I was going to stay at a friend's place that night. I grabbed a watch and I hooked this watch and I flew down to Melbourne without them knowing. And I've never been on a plane before, or just grabbed my guitar and I said, oh, I've got to do this. If I don't do this, this is meant. And I just walked into the rehearsal room in St Kilda and there was a whole bunch of guys standing around, and they brought me in and I rehearsed with them, auditioned. And then they said, we want you. And then I flew straight back to Sydney, grabbed my stuff and flew right back, and then called my parents from Melbourne and said, I've joined a rock and roll band. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. What sort of reaction did you get from them?
Not very favorable. I'm going to kill you, my father said. I had to keep it. They wanted to get me back. I had to say, couldn't tell them exactly where I was in Melbourne. And I said, look, I'm okay. On Sunday morning, on Sunday evening, you'll see me on TV. And then the next time they saw me was on Countdown with the band. And then 3 months later, two or 3 months later, the band finally was in Sydney doing a concert, and then I saw them again.
Did they forgive you?
It was difficult. They always held it against me, but yeah, ultimately they loved the guys, and yeah, we were all a big family after that. Yeah.
You would have given up whatever career path you had chosen to follow in order to join the band full time. Do you ever look back on it now and regret that decision?
No, I think I was always meant to be a musician, a songwriter, and everything, and I think that, you know, it's been such an incredible experience being with SUPERNAUT, especially from the age of 18 to 21, when the band was massive. And we're such great friends. We're all like brothers. I probably would not want to give up anything to not be connected with Chris and Joe and Gary the way we're all connected. And, you know, we've had some amazing times and we've written great music together. And I don't know, I'd rather have that on my grave than he was a doctor, a lawyer, or, you know.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'd rather have, the guy was one of in the band that wrote I Like It Both Ways on my thing. I think someone would get a kick out of that rather than he was a good doctor and he did well.
Well, once you joined them, the album actually provided another single that's called Too Hot to Touch. That was September of the same year in 76, and that got up to number 14 by 1979. What can you tell me about that track? Too Hot to Touch. It wasn't related to the boy that was liking it both ways, was it?
No,
but
I can't really remember. Can you actually remember?
It came out with the album. When the album came, it was the single that released the album, and the album went gold and everything. It was around the same time.
I remember putting the song together. I remember actually doing the song, but the actual idea of Too Hot to Touch.
A lot of songs were just written in studios. All those other songs were written, and the guys had already written a lot of them. And I guess it just kind of mixes in together, and you don't quite remember.
Yeah.
Like the actual idea.
And of course, in those heady days, we were all doing all sorts of things that had a great effect on your memory too. So, moving right along.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, of course not. You can't remember. But what was it like at the top? I mean, you were held in such high esteem by young Aussie music fans, and in fact more than just young Aussie music fans. They were right around the world. People were buying your music. What was it like in those days at the top? How did it feel for you?
I'll tell you a moment that actually changed. I don't know if Phil remembers, but in those days, you used to play in Melbourne ice rings, you know, where you go to ice skate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Roseland.
I was very good.
Oh, yeah.
Rose. It was something called Rose something, Iceland.
Yeah, Roseland.
Iceland.
In Melbourne, in one of the suburbs. And used to play there, obviously quite cold. So, you know, you imagine your hands when you're trying to play guitar or play drum, you know, it's really hard. It was a hard gig. Plus, they would stick a mesh screen up in front of you because everyone used to like throwing ice at you. So one night we're doing it, and it's the first time I think we're being on Countdown, or I think it was the first time on Countdown. And when we came out after the show, we came out like we normally do, just walk into the car. Next thing you know, we were literally mobbed by girls. But it wasn't how you imagine. I'm talking like I had scratches on my face, had pulled lumps of your hair out. It was like, oh my God, no, really, it was literally really quite scary.
Scary, yeah.
Yeah. And like we managed to get in the car and go, what the hell's happened? It was like a day ago, there was nothing, and now bang. And from then on, it was like that.
And do you think that was your appearance on Countdown? And for anybody listening who doesn't know, the show Countdown was the national weekly music show from, I think it probably started the early 70s right through to the 80s. That we were all glued to every Sunday night.
Yeah. I think when I really felt the effect of Countdown was when we were on tour, when we did our first Western Australian tour.
Going up the coast.
All the way up to the shows there were all done outdoors on a truck bed, and everybody came to them. It wasn't kids, it was everybody. It was their whole families, the whole area, and it was all because of Countdown. And at that point, I realized that we're massive, because we weren't just a band appealing to a small group of people.
Yeah.
We were appealing to all Australians, you know.
Yeah.
In that area, and the power of Countdown. And at that point, it was like, we're riding here. We're one of the biggest bands in the country.
Countdown was super influential back in that. Yeah. I didn't actually realise, you know, till later on how big an impact Countdown had on people. You still mention it now, Countdown, and like people might not have heard the band. You go, oh, they were on Countdown. Oh, Countdown, yeah, I've heard of that. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just this phenomenal show.
The following year, 77, you released a couple of original singles, Young and Innocent and The Kids Are Out Tonight. Also a cover version of the Rolling Stones' Let's Spend the Night Together. Why did you decide to do that one?
I must have been severely drunk.
Well, Gary the singer's a massive Rolling Stones fan. He always loved the band and loved the songs, you know. And we were like discussing doing a cover at the time, and Gary came up with let's do that song. And then we just went in, and some people really liked that version because it was a very different type of version. And we just thought it would be nice to throw it in because everything else we'd done was all original, and we thought, well, why not just do a cover and see how it goes?
Yeah, why not?
I disagree slightly. For me, it was a big mistake. That's all I can say.
You weren't happy with it, Joe?
No, because I loved the Stones version. I knew the David Bowie version, and I loved the Bowie version. I was just, you know, why? But you know, in those days, it was a very kind of, what do you call it, group decision. You know, most votes won.
Yeah, that's right. It was a democracy.
I like Kids Are Out Tonight.
Yeah, I like Kids Are Out Tonight too. I think that's one of our best songs.
The only problem
would you say that was your favourite song
of that period?
Yeah.
I think that was. But the only problem I have with that song is that the video is, unfortunately, I was banned from being in the video as much as everybody else because I went out and got drunk the night before.
Because we had to stop about 20 times on the way to the studio so Phil could throw up out the back of the car.
I was very drunk, so they refused. So that's one of the band videos. That's one of the band videos that I got. Like,
the camera hits him about once, and he just looks like death. So I won't go there.
I'm going to dig that out and show everybody that one.
It was a great time in Melbourne in the
Yeah.
70s, 77. Melbourne music industry at that time was just on fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was fabulous.
And all the venues and everything. It was a great environment.
I mean, we've been known as here in Melbourne as the live music capital of the world for some time, and we still are. Oh,
Yeah. Way better than ever. It is. It's
everywhere you go. The quality of musicianship there. Even the guys that do the busking outside of Flinders Street, they're amazing.
and we've got to have something to make up for the weather.
Well, it's because you're more European. It's like you're saying, the weather, and because you got that, it's like Europe. So you make up for it by entertainment inside.
Yeah. Well, we're all looking forward very much as it starts to get back happening again. And in fact, I went to my first live gig just the other night. It was so good to get back out to some live music. So it's going to be a good summer coming, I think. When was it that you actually supported Lou Reed in concert? You've opened for him. You've opened for Suzi Quatro and for Sweet. Was that was back in the day too?
Yeah, we did all three of those in Perth, but I think we did Lou Reed in Sydney too.
We did Suzi Quatro in Sydney.
Did we? Oh yeah, no, that's right. You were.
We did Suzi
But
Quatro.
you did a Lou Reed one, didn't you?
No.
Did we do two?
You did that was in Perth.
But I thought we did one in Sydney as well.
Oh yeah, we did.
I thought we did twice.
We did the Lou Reed one.
So we did one in Perth, one in Sydney, and then we called the Phil's right. Suzi Quatro was here.
Suzi Quatro was a fun gig. That was a really fun.
Yeah, they were nice people. Lou Reed was very interesting man.
Well, I'm very interested to hear about your experience with Lou Reed.
I got some Lou Reed stories. I moved to New York, and I lived in New York from mid '80s to 2008, and I went to the same gym that Lou Reed went to. You don't want to go to the same gym as one of your stars or someone that you really admire, because it's not the great way of seeing them in the dressing room, so I don't want to go into too much detail. He's a god, but
you could have sung him I Like It Both Ways.
I could have. He was an amazing musician. I used to see him in the neighborhood, and he was the kind of guy that would not have a conversation with you anywhere. You go, "Hey Lou," you see him in the guitar shop, "I love that guitar you're playing," and he wouldn't even answer.
Really?
And then you'd see him on the street, and you go, "Lou, we're doing a show," and he was just kind of like, don't even hassle me kind of guy. Oh, that's cool. He was a tough guy.
Just to up himself, you think, or just?
No, I just think he would get mobbed all the time. Everyone's always talking to him, so he just minimized who he would talk to and when they would talk to you. And he was like, he was just in his own world all the time.
It's one of those things that I don't know anything about his childhood, but it's obviously something that's gone on through his life where he's become very insular because, when you support a band, normally they talk to you, you have a bit of a laugh backstage. They're quite, what's the word? They kind of boost you up, most bands, really. They're pretty good. Most bands we supported, they're always like trying to get behind you.
Yeah.
Do you need this? You need that? He was just a cold, miserable little bugger.
Moving on to the warmer ones that you are, Philip, you actually followed up SUPERNAUT with a very successful solo career. You released a couple of albums, and you were also a musical composer for an off-Broadway show called Atomic, which ran in New York City. That was obviously during the time you lived there.
Well, yeah, I did a lot. Joe played on the first solo album. Well, it was a band album that I did in London with a band called Illustrated Man. And Joe was on it with me, and we got to hang out with McCartney for quite a while, which was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Joe?
Well, that's probably one of the great moments in my music.
Yeah, we spent quite a lot of time just hanging out in the rec room, talking to him, and he would hang out in the studio with us. And
amazing.
It was great. It was a great experience. That was a band called Illustrated Man. Roger Mason from the Models who was also in the band. Rob Dean from Japan. And then we toured England, and we toured the States. And then I moved to the States, and then did a bunch of solo albums there. Then Atomic came. I moved back here, and I was approached by a guy called Danny Gingiss through mutual friends who'd written a script about the man Leo Szilard, who helped create the atomic bomb. And it was a big dramatic musical, and he wanted a rock musician. And then I had done some stuff in New York with theater, And yeah, we wrote the songs to Atomic, and then it was here, and then it was in New York and a few other. Then it went from New York to Michigan, St. Louis, Denver, um, Melbourne, Perth, and it's going to be in Germany next
Ah,
next year.
what
Yeah.
brought you back? What brought you back to Australia?
Oh, look,
You
I,
missed me, didn't
I
you?
miss Joe and Chris, and well, my parents were getting older, and they needed help, and I came back to help them, and then yeah, sort of started playing in bands again here and doing stuff here, and you know,
What are you doing now?
working on another musical called at the moment Force of Nature. It's about a woman called Rachel Carson. She wrote a book called Silent Spring, and we're working on it. It's a folk musical, and I have a band called Distant Drum, which is sort of like an alternative rock band. And yeah, I write, and that's what I'm doing. I'm writing musicals and my own stuff and
You're
scripts.
busy. What about you,
Yeah.
Joe? What are you up to?
Um, I just released an EP actually a few weeks ago, which is available on Spotify and all the other wonderful sites. And
What's it called?
Broken Third, as
Okay.
it's going to be. And that sounds a bit dicky, but I thought rather than do an album, I would break up the album into 3 pieces.
Okay.
And let people that one gets too bored after a few songs, and then at the end I'll compress them together and make it an album. But I just thought it'd be a nicer way to release it because it's a bit easier. People can hear 4 songs. It
Right.
doesn't tax too much.
So
Well,
music's still your full-time gig.
Joe's got some great solo records out on Spotify. Just go to Joe Burnham. He's done some amazing stuff.
Thanks.
I really love Joe's stuff,
Thanks,
his
mate.
solo stuff.
And also, just before I forget, because I feel I want to, I've been doing this thing called End So Niche with a young girl singer, and because it's her, I want to mention it because she's fabulous. She's just doing 25. She's different. I think she's wonderful. And if you want to listen, have a listen. That's on Spotify and that as well. So feel free.
Okay, we'll definitely check it out. As I sit here having a look, I think it's coming up to the 45th anniversary of I Like It Both Ways.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well, we did it 2016. We did a tour, a mini SUPERNAUT I Like It Both Ways tour, and that was a lot of fun.
So that was 40 years, wasn't it then?
Yeah.
40 years?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay.
And
now it's 21. Time to go out again.
It is.
Jesus.
I try to drag them back, but we look, every now and then we do get back together. Like if I'm playing a gig with my band and Gary's in town, we'll get up on stage and throw some songs together. 2016 was a lot of fun. We toured. We did 2 shows in Sydney. We played in Melbourne, and we finished off in Perth. And the crowds love it. We always sell out the shows, and yeah.
So
it's
what
fun.
to the future? Are we likely to see you together again and on the road?
It's normally up to Phil.
Never say never. It's never say never. We get offers quite a lot. People contact us and say, "Would you be open to doing this? You open to doing that?" It's really Gary, our singer, who's got a pretty good career in the States right now. He's got a couple of bands, the International Swingers and the Long Shadows. And Gary's doing a lot of work with his bands, and Chris is involved in film work and different things. So it's usually if Gary can get over here and things work out, we'll do it.
Sounds good. We'd love to see you back out there.
Yeah, we're like, the thing about SUPERNAUT, it's funny because even when we did the Countdown tour, we ended up having people like B. Birdles from Little River Band and all that hanging out with us, because he said, you guys are literally like a gang, 4 lads in the gang. Everything you do is together, because that's what we were like. So you get these other people that were in bands, but they didn't have that kind of same feel. So they like being around that. They, became almost like the 5th, 6th members of SUPERNAUT.
Yeah. Right.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a chat to Gina Schock from the Go-Go's the other week, and she said the same, that the Go-Go's were very much like that. It felt like you were married to 4 other women and they did every single thing together. She loved that.
I think that's fabulous if that happens.
Yeah, it's an interesting chemistry. Like we could not see each other as a band. We would always see each other individually because we're living around at different times and we're all good friends. But the moment we're all in the same room together, the dynamic is incredible. I mean, it's just, everything just sort of fits right, playing. And it's an incredible when that sort of chemistry exists.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today. It's been really wonderful to revisit SUPERNAUT, and hopefully not for the last time. We'll see you guys out on the road again. You've got 45 years now to celebrate of that big hit amongst all the others. But terrific to catch up with you, Philip and Joe. It's just been great.